Oh yeah, the big mics.
All right, live on Hebsy's YouTube channel.
Yeah, live. It's I've been informed it's St. Patrick's Day today. I don't wake up in the morning.
The big mics.
Oh, and we played back. You go ahead. I muted us.
I just, it's like, oh, it's St. Patrick's Day. You don't wake up in the morning going, oh, it's St. Patrick's Day. It's like April Fool's Day. You just don't, it's not like Christmas, right? It's, if someone goes to you, oh, how come you're not wearing green? Or you see somebody with a green hat or something, and you kind of go, oh, green, they're drinking green coffee or green beer or whatever. You're like, oh, that's right. It's St. Patrick's Day. One of those things. So it's like, and I don't have anything green. And
It's
later today,
by the way, how can we have nothing green? I find that interesting.
I don't know. Green is just not it's not a common color, I guess, that,
no Celtics jersey.
That a lot of people wear. Well, if you're wearing a Celtics jersey or an Eagles jersey or something like that, then that's different. But that's not, those are your team colors. That's not like St. Pat. Oh, I got nothing to wear. I'll wear something. I'll wear an Eagles. Like, there's no way I was going to wear an Eagles jersey today because I have to wear green. Anyway, but I'm feeling green, if that's okay, if that means anything. And kind of green. And the Leafs are playing tonight, but it's not the Leafs. It's the Toronto St. Patrick's. Right. So they got their St. Pat, which I don't like those jerseys. Oh. There's a reason why they went from green and white to blue and white back in the 20s or whatever. And it's because green and white is ugh. Green and white are shitty colors. I'm sorry. Listen, if you're a Saskatchewan Roughriders fan, my apologies, okay? Because actually, Rider green is pretty cool. That I like. But there's just some shades of green. There's some green. It doesn't do it for me. Like with the Dallas Stars, that's green, right? That's a green, black and gold and white. It doesn't do anything for me. Never would run out to buy anything green. Thank God the teams I root for aren't green. Because if they were, I might seriously considering rooting for a team that was red or white or something like that.
Hebsy, it's not easy being green. Just ask Kermit the Frog. Okay, my friend, because I'm afraid you'll forget. We got to give people some time to get in here. You need to retweet.
All right.
And I'll see. I won't even start the show till I see there's somebody from Lethbridge on the channel. Stand by.
Okay, I'm going to retweet this.
All right, you retweet that. I'm going to press these.
Is this buttons. A St. Patrick's Day special today, or what is it? It's not even, right? Okay.
That's the marketing department. Put that in there.
So not celebrating St. Patrick's Day. That's what I'm going to say.
It's like the fun police. Okay.
Well, what am I going to do? I'm going to, great St. Patrick's Day stories, right? The time that Kelly Rudy made 72 saves on St. Patrick. Was that St. Patrick's Day or was that Easter? I forget now.
I don't know. He is St. Patrick, so. His son's still a great musician. You can still catch him live in different spots. Oh, Jonathan, yeah. I think his name is Jonathan Raw. So Roy Anderson. Oh, I see. I'm on the wrong link. Okay.
I didn't know what to say. I just said not celebrating St. Patrick's Day at all. So for people who thought we were, they're like, oh, well, we're not going to tune into this.
St. Patrick's Day is a big day for people who need an excuse to get drunk.
You think that's what it is?
I think if you typically, let's say you have one or two when you're with your buds, but this gives you a carte blanche. Like you're going to Uber home, you set it all up, you can get ripped tonight.
Well, this is the one night that you're guaranteed a packed house in any pub or any bar, or really anything, because it's a great excuse. Okay, St. Green beer and let's go. To me, the best places are the ones that have live music on St. Patrick's Day, and they'll play requests. Because all you need, forget about drunken Irishmen, just people that have had a couple of drinks, like you say, that maybe wouldn't normally drink or drink to excess or drink to get drunk. There's they have an excuse. So it's like, okay, let's hear some good music. Let's hear some Irish drinking music or, that kind of a thing.
Sure.
And there's this one song, if I go, and I may go tonight to a particular place in the neighborhood, drop by with some friends, I'm going to request a song that I always do if I'm out St. Patrick's Day, and that's Part of the Union by Straubs. Because it's like a working man's you don't get me, I'm part of the union. It's one of those songs where everybody in the pub sings it.
Nice.
And that's what you need for St. Patrick's Day. Everybody's like friends. Hey, how you doing? Big hugs, and hey, have a drink on me, and let's sing a song. And not, oh, Danny Boy or something like that. It's not sad stuff. But I don't know, that song, that particular song by Straubs, it's about unions, right? Like we're sticking together. You don't get me, I'm part of the union till the day I die. Right?
Or that Pogue song in The Wire.
That's a Yeah, that's good stuff there. The Irish know how to, they know those, fighting and drinking. They don't call Notre Dame the Fighting Irish for nothing. You know how that came about, by the way, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish?
Do you want to save it for the podcast, or is it you want to burn it here? It's up to you.
Wait a second. So you're suggesting that those who tune in for the red carpet show don't deserve extra something?
Well, they're here for the show.
That they're not going to get on the show?
I'm just letting you know more people will hear it on the podcast, but it's
okay. So you want me to save
maybe
this,
off the top.
How did the Fighting Irish get their name?
Yeah, like off the top, I'll wish you happy St. Patty's Day. You can do your spiel there. I'll shout out quickly here what we got a couple minutes. Oh, Wayne Brown is the man from Lethbridge. So now I can begin because he's here. Moose Grumpy's here. Hello, Moose. Chris F. Grave is here. Happy St. Patty's Day. He says from Cambridge. Laura Connor she wants to hear some Dropkick Murphys.
Well, we don't play music on this show except for Los Lobos, and that's the opening and closing theme. Right. We just don't, unless it's a very special occasion. Now, if you would have let us know, Laura, a while ago that you had a particular Dropkick Murphy song that might fit in nicely
Laura, tell us
on St. Patrick's, though, then we can always dial it up. So if you want, but if that's the case, then we got to get my song out, and now we're just going to start playing, Irish drinking music and at this time in the morning.
And then YouTube will kick us off their channel for
that's right. They're going to go, damn, Laura suggested, Dropkick Murphys, and then they violated, then Hebsy and Mike violated
or whatever.
And then we're screwed. And then they take us off the air. Is that what you want, Laura?
No, you don't want that, Laura. No, I do want to say hello to my friend Midtown Gord. He's a legend in this city. Midtown Gord is here.
One of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
Didn't he used to be Suburban Gord, and then he got upgraded or something like that? Like he went from a major to a colonel. He was Suburban Gord, and now he's Midtown Gord, and one day he's going to be Downtown Gord, and then pretty soon Toronto Gord.
Here's how much I know about Midtown Gord. I believe he's living in the house he was raised in. Like, I don't think he's ever moved.
He's been in jail his whole life, you mean? That house? The big house?
The super jail that Harper built for him. I don't know.
Don't even get me started with that. Don't get me started.
We got one in this neighborhood.
So you're going to save. So you want me to give the Notre Dame story, right? How they got their name, the Fighting Irish, because it's St. Patrick's Day. So we'll do that on the podcast. So for those of you watching on the red carpet, really sorry. But Mike made an executive decision, and I'm going to have to abide by it here.
Yeah. It's only 2 minutes away, people. They understand. And Laura, I got to pull it. Laura, I set her up there. She did say Dropkick Murphys, but she was just suggesting St. Patty's bar songs.
Got it.
She,
Poor Laura. Get me.
She's never coming back.
Part of the union. You don't get me on. Anyway, you can roll the Los Lobos
All right.
music.
All right, let's do this.
We got the guys from Mexico. We got the Mexican music. Forget about St. Patty's Day. This is Cinco de Mayo.
Well, this is Los Angeles music, right?
Let's go.
Here we go.
Hey there, sports fans. Welcome to Hebsy on Sports, episode number 325. This is your host, Mark Hebscher, speaking to you from the almost completed Markham Studio, gateway to Stouffville. Toronto Mike is manning the mothership in New Toronto. We got a big show for you today, a big show. It's St. Patrick's Day. Hey! Woo. We're not wearing green, but we'll be talking about it today. In fact, did you ever want to know how the Notre Dame football team and, all the Notre Dame sports teams are known as the Fighting Irish? Did you want to know? Well, I'm going to tell you why. This is how we combine sports with St. Patrick's Day. It's a beautiful thing. The Raptors starting to look like a playoff team after last night's demolition of the OKC Thunder. Add that to a win over Denver earlier this week, and you've got a little something happening with this team. As long as Pascal Siakam plays the way he did last night, things will be just fine in Raptorland. The World Baseball Classic. Have you been watching? Do you like it? Do you like seeing your team, your country playing? Or are you more concerned about the BlueJays in spring training as opposed to this sort of one-off thing that they haven't played in years and they play it every 4 years? Anyway, if you're from Puerto Rico, you're loving the World Baseball Classic. If you're from Mexico, you're loving the World Baseball Classic. Other countries, maybe not so much. I'll tell you what, the worst hockey trade ever for me took place when I was 11 years old, and I still haven't forgotten about it. Tell me, what was the worst hockey trade ever involving your team? The one that you cried. You cried when you found out this trade was made. 2 words for me, Frank Mahovlich. Oh, I cried for 20 years. And if the Leafs don't get past the first round this season, I may cry for another 20 years. Question, why is it that the U.S. networks are doing a much better job entertaining me during hockey intermissions than the Canadian sports networks? Can someone answer that? Is it because the Americans are using personalities that don't just hem and haw and go, and talk for 30 seconds like they're supposed to formulaically on the panel? Yeah, that's exactly the reason. Let's get creative on those shows. Hey, we got the BlueJays, we got tennis, we got golf, and the story of my trip to Elliot Lake, Ontario, where I did play-by-play of 2 games, and the home team won them both. They want me back. What should I do? Toronto, I'm like, what do I do? 2-0 in Elliot Lake, 2-0.
Looks like you're moving to Elliot Lake, Hebsy.
I could do the games remotely. I mean, everyone else does, don't they?
well,
think about it. You have to,
better than that.
Ben Wagner's not he's not going to go to Blue Jay games during the season. He's going to call him off a monitor.
Yes, but he has no choice. He has no choice.
Well,
Hebsy,
what do you mean I have no choice? I don't want to drive up, all the way up to Elliot Lake every weekend for games.
But I'm
kidding.
Okay. You could, of course.
I could.
I want to wish you a happy St. Patrick's Day, Hebsy.
Same to you. Happy St. Patrick's Day. How do you celebrate St. Patrick's Day?
I actually have an invitation to, I don't know if I should out this semi-famous person, but I'm invited to like a St. Patrick's Day party tonight. And if it's not pouring rain, I'm going to make the bike ride to East York.
You're going to bike ride on St. Patrick's Day to East York. Good for you. Where exactly is East York, Mike?
It's like, where
does it start? Where does it end?
I think it's Danforth is like the demarcation line between like Toronto and East York. So I feel like if you go to the other side of the Don River and you're north of Danforth, that's what I think.
And how far north does East York go before it becomes
you lose
Agent Court or something like that?
Yeah.
Becomes Scarborough or Agent Court or whatever. Okay.
Or your park or something like that. I don't know.
Right. So so I'm up in Elliot Lake last week. The Elliot Lake Red Wings of the Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League. I have a certain affection for this team, and so they invited me up and say, listen, all these games are on Hockey TV, which is a streaming service that all the parents buy so they can watch their sons play hockey. Every junior league, BC Junior League, Alberta Junior League, all the junior leagues in Ontario, all over the place, and so. There's a few dozen people watching, maybe a few hundred people watching, friends and family of the people that are playing. And I'm doing the play-by-play. So I go before the games. I ask the coaches what their line combinations are, what their defense combos. I try to watch the warm-up, do a little bit of research. What hometown is this guy from? How do you pronounce his name? All that stuff. And I'm doing these games. And it was fun, but it's hard work, Mike. It's really hard work because you don't have, like in the NHL, you've got stats people giving you, updating you with stats every couple of minutes. You've got all this wealth of information at your fingertips, a perfect broadcast location with, 360 degree vision or 180 vision, whatever. You can see everything that's going on. Not so much when you're in, little small towns and little arenas that weren't built for broadcast gondolas.
Right.
But 2 wins, a win over Kirkland Lake and a big win over Hearst. Good way to sort of,
do you want me to, I have, you tweeted a clip. Do you want me to play it?
Well, the thing is, you wanted something, right? Like you said, we got to have something. You're going to be calling something in Elliot Lake. So
there's no icing on the play. Sticks are up behind the net. Here's Hearst pressing for another goal. Chance in front of the net. Oh, and Smith turned that aside. And now they've got to do something here. Elliot Lake, as Hearst has really turned up the volume, putting the pressure on. Still can't get the puck out. Now they finally do. And here's a chance down the wing. Elliot Lake. That's Vickerman in front of the shot. Score! Oh, beautiful goal by Silas Crawford. A fantastic response by Elliot Lake as Crawford finishes it off. Was that Vickerman that set him up?
Oh, settle down, Hebsy. Settle down.
You know what? You're a professional. That's big leagues commentary right there. That's well done.
I screwed the call up. I said Vickerman made the pass when it wasn't. It wasn't him at all, and I felt really bad because unless you watch a lot of this, right? 44 can look like 24, especially when he's on the far side of the ice and he's a left-handed shot.
Right.
You can't quite, you see the 4, the second digit, and it's at 24 or 44. And, both these kids are about the same size. And they're both left-handed shots. And, so I kind of screwed that up. I felt bad for his family or friends that were watching. Really.
You had good energy level. I thought that was I was.
The kid's name, by the way, is Adam Matar. So Adam Matar should have been Adam Matar as opposed to Zachary Vickerman, and that should have been me calling it Adam Matar with a great pass in front, and but Silas Crawford got a goal from Adam Matar, but I said it was from Vickerman, and then I corrected myself, apologized to his family, and I think that's it for my play-by-play career, because I felt, I mean, everyone said you did a great job, and I thought, no, I screwed that one up, and that's what I thought of. The mistake that I made there, that's what has been haunting me.
Well, how do you think?
And also, I kept calling this one kid Bedard, like it was Connor Bedard. Like I had Bedard in my head.
Right.
His name was Zachary Demers, a really good player for Hearst, and I kept calling him Bedard for like 5-6 times. And so the next day, you know, people are pointing out to me saying, you know, you were calling that kid Bedard. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, what about the rest of the game? Was it okay? I said, but you kept calling this kid Bedard. So this is what stuck with me. So it's a hard job, and I'm not sure I'm going to volunteer for it anymore. There you go. What else?
Well, can we get that story about the Fighting Irish, since it's St. Patrick's Day? Like maybe we get that story off the top, and then we can dive in.
Sure. So here's the story. The Notre Dame football team, basketball team, all the sports teams are known as the Fighting Irish. The reason they're known as the Fighting Irish is back in the 1920s. And by the way, Notre Dame is in South Bend, Indiana. Back in the 1920s, Indiana was like the headquarters for the Ku Klux Klan. And what they tried to do back then was they tried to get everybody in Indiana to like join the Klan. And in South Bend, Indiana, the Klan decided, let's go into South Bend, home of Notre Dame, and let's have a little demonstration there. See if we can't sign some people up for, you know, to join the Ku Klux Klan, you know, lynch some Negroes maybe and stuff like that. That's what they did. And so and Notre Dame was an all-white school, but a Catholic school. And Catholics had an idea of what discrimination was like, maybe more than some others, certainly not as much as blacks or Native Americans, but they had some idea what it was like to be excluded. And so when the Ku Klux Klan, with their robes and everything, came marching into South Bend, about 500 Notre Dame students attacked them, ran them out of town, and a couple of them actually grabbed the hoods and the robes that the Klan members were wearing, like beat them up, took their clothes, and then started wearing them like in mock, you know, disdain for them, that type of a thing. And so, like the next day in the paper, you know, the priests at Notre Dame were shocked, and they were like, "Oh, we don't like this aggression from our students. Notre Dame doesn't want to be known as, you know, this type of thing." But the newspaper writers were going, "Well, these Fighting Irish, you know, were just, you know, these Fighting Irish." And what they did was they had rid the town of the Ku Klux Klan, and eventually Indiana was not as big a holding place for the Klan as they had hoped it would be. And a lot of it had to do with these Notre Dame students who fought back against this, and they were known as the Fighting Irish. And there you go.
Love it, Hebsy. Love the history lesson. I did not know that.
That's the story. Yeah, good, eh? They beat the shit out of the Klan. Get the fuck out of here, you motherfuckers.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
They're back in the 1920s, Fighting Irish. Good for them. Had they not, who knows where we would be today? No, state of Indiana. Who knows? Right?
It's a good
Confederate flag could be flying in the state of Indiana. I don't know. But anyway, good for them. That's the story there. Now, the other thing is that St. Patrick's Day is right in the middle of what they call March Madness. And I don't know who coined the phrase March Madness, but it's a good one. And it's alliterative, so it's a beautiful thing. It's easy to remember. And it comes in all forms. It's not just college basketball. But if you look at it from a sports standpoint, it is the best time of the year. Every major sport except for football is going on. Hockey, you got pro, you got amateur, you got world championships coming up, you got all these international tournaments. Basketball, of course, you got the NCAAs. You got the pros that are, you know, winding down their season, heading for the playoffs. Baseball, you got Major League Spring Training. You got the World Baseball Classic. Soccer, you've got all over the world. Leagues are going on. Golf, 2 tours, 3 tours, 5, 7 tours of golf. Tennis, men's and ladies pro tour. I could go on and on. Lots of sports. So on this St. Patrick's Day, we turn our attention to the Toronto team that is scrambling to make amends for what's been a poor regular season. They've shown a late flurry of victories. I'm talking about the Toronto Raptors. I was supposed to go to the game last night, Mike. I had a ticket. My buddy Paul Duder sent me a ticket. Problem is, I don't know how to read a train schedule.
Oh.
And I'm standing on the platform last night waiting for the 620, right? From Mount Joy down to Union Station.
Okay.
And I realized when it's 6:22, I realize that 6:20 is 6:20
a.m.
It's not right. It's not 18:20.
Right.
And I'm going, oh shit. There is no 18:20. It's a bus. And I just missed it. So on the platform now, I've got to text my buddy Paul and say, listen, I screwed up here. And and then took a screenshot of the mobile ticket, right? And sent it to him saying, I hope you can find someone to take my place.
Oh,
Which you couldn't do back in the day. You couldn't.
No.
You had a ticket. It's like, oh, sorry, buddy. So at least I gave him like an hour's notice, and I think he found somebody. But anyway,
that's not a moment when you're like, okay, I'm gonna eat this one. I'm gonna call an Uber and fork over $30 or whatever. And
$30.
I don't know. I
an Uber from fucking Stouffville, almost from Stouffville.
What does that cost? Tell me. I need to know.
An Uber from Markham to the to the Scotiabank Arena, got to be $100, man.
See, I'm so ignorant. I have no idea.
It just would. Yeah, it would be a lot.
Okay.
And you're talking like it's during rush hour traffic. It's an hour and probably an hour and 20 minutes.
Well, Hebsy, I suck. This is the price you pay now for being like living outside the city. This is
You're right. You're 100% right. Because if I'm living down in Little Italy, man, I'm there in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I know.
Oh man,
and I have to learn how to read a train schedule, and I also have to learn when I'm reading these schedules. Look for the teeny little icon that's either a train or a bus.
Okay.
And differentiate between the two. These are the two things I learned. And you're on military time. Okay. 6:20 is 06:20 in the morning. It's not 18:20 p.m. Okay. So now that we got that straight. So the Raptors, without me in attendance, beat the OKC Thunder 128-111. Fabulous performance last night. Second big win of the week because they knocked off Denver on Tuesday night. And remember, they're coming off a horrible road trip and people are ready to bury them. And, they're looking better now. They're within half a game of 8th place Atlanta in the East. And it's very important because you want to play in that 7-8 game. Because if you play the 7-8 game, even if you lose the 7-8 game, you still have a chance to advance because the loser of the 7-8 game plays the winner of the 9-10 game. So you get in that 7-8 game, you win that, you got the number 7 seed. You lose that, you get another shot at the 8th seed. You play the winner of the 9-10. Very important that the Raptors get into that 7-8 game, half game back of Atlanta. Very, very important. You understand that, Mike? Farstesh, as they say, like that whole play.
Is that Yiddish?
How that works? It is.
Okay, that's one you haven't used before because I keep notes here. I don't think you use Farstesh.
Farstesh. It's understand?
Okay, I do understand. Yeah, absolutely. We want to. Even if you lose, you get another shot at advancing.
Right. But you have to get in. That's the 7-8 game.
7-8 game.
If you lose the 9-10 game, you're done.
Right.
Okay. So you don't want to be in that. That's where they are now. They're half a game out of that 7-8 game where they would probably have to play Miami in the 7-8 game.
Okay. Win
it, great. You're in the 7th seed. Lose it. I'm just thinking ahead because there's still 12 games to go. Lose that and you take on the winner of the 9-10 game. So currently the Raps are at 34-36, 1.5 games up on 10th place Washington, 2 clear of both Indiana and Chicago, 12 games to go. Yesterday, Pascal Siakam briefly silenced his critics with an outstanding performance, 25 points, 14 rebounds, and 8 dimes. And he played pretty good on defense because lately his defense has been terrible. He just hasn't been, he hasn't been into it. But he played very well last night. The whole team did. Jakob Poeltl was fabulous as well, adding 16 points and 12 boards. And down the stretch, they kept fouling him and sending him to the free throw line, and he kept making free throws, which is what you want. You want, at first you're like, oh, geez, you don't want Poeltl on the free throw line, but he did very well. I didn't get his final stats there, but down the stretch, he knocked in like a half a dozen free throws and really helped the Raptors. They won pretty big. And the bench, which has just been terrible for most of the season and has taken a lot of flack, came through last night. Thanks to Gary Trent Jr. He had 23 points on 8 of 11 shooting. And Chris Boucher came through as well. He had 6 points and 7 boards. And defensively, is there a better defender than OG Anunoby? When he's healthy, he is one of the best. And last night he was a stud, holding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the Hamilton native, to 29 points, which is good because his season average is like 31. Anytime you hold someone under their season average, you've done a good job. OG had a couple of blocks, a couple of steals, and added 17 points on 6 of 9 shooting. Raptors shot very well last night. The homestand continues Saturday night when the Raptors host the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then they're off to Milwaukee to play the Bucks on Sunday. And next week, 2 big games at home as they take on Indiana and then Detroit, 2 games they should win in their own conference. Can I say must-win games at this point, Mike?
No.
I think I can.
Okay, but it's a bit of a misnomer.
Is it a bit of a misnomer? Because really they have to win to stay in the playoff hunt. There's 4, you can't afford to lose games.
No, you can't afford to lose games, but if you do lose, in theory, you can still advance. So, at some point it will be must win. I don't know. We're almost there. Almost.
You're right. I can't. You're right. I'm too excited about, it's a must win game. No, it's not a must win game yet, Hebsy. Take it easy. You're right. Now it's only been a couple of games this week, Mike. Do you think the Raptors can continue this winning trend? Do they have the horses?
Well, I say why not, but I'm dying to hear what you think. I'm hoping you agree with me, but I think they can. Yeah. What do you say, Hebsy?
I've been saying all along, but every night it's like, oh, geez, here they are blowing a big lead. Here they are. But I think, you learn from your mistakes too. And the Denver game was a great example. They should have beaten Denver in Denver. They had like a 6-point lead with a minute and a half to go in Denver, number one team in the West. They blew that game, and that caused some problems the next few games on the road trip. And really, I don't want to say they were in a downward spiral after that, but they really had trouble bouncing back from that loss. That was a tough loss. And so when they scored 49 points in the first quarter against Denver on Tuesday night, to me, that was redemption. Freddie VanVleet was on fire. It was fantastic. Right. And it did, and I hate the expression, set the tone. But man, when you score 49 in the first quarter, you're making a statement. We're ready to come back. And those are the games, Mike, the ones when you come back off the West Coast road trip. Normally you lose those games, right? The time difference and all that type of thing, you're not settled in. But no, the Raptors were on a mission, and they continued that with their win last night. Put up a lot of points, man. They put up 128 points last night, Mike.
But I don't know what to make of this team, to be honest. Like, I've been, I don't know what this team is. Is this team good? Is this team bad? Is this team pedestrian? Is it all the above? It's just inconsistent.
It is. But since they got Jakob Poeltl, I think they're a better team, and I think it serves them well down the stretch. They have a much more balanced team. My concern is the bench. And the bench is just, if I'm Nick Nurse and I look at my bench, I go, I don't know. Right. And then the problem becomes if you get somebody in foul trouble, right, now you really have to depend on your bench. And so they got good performances last night, like I said, out of Trent Jr., who's your sixth man, and Boucher. After that, Precious, Koloko played some last night. This other guy, I can't even remember his name. I'm watching him going, who's this guy? They just got him too, and I can't think of his name. Like, I see him, but he's like the other guard, and I'm like, I don't know, he does nothing for me. And you look at other teams, man, and they're strong. They're 9 strong, 10, sometimes 10 strong. But usually most coaches like to rotate 4 guys off the bench. You want to have 9, right? You want to have one of your starters out there almost all the time, at least, probably maybe 2, and you rotate the other guys in. And the Raps don't have that. They're playing VanVleet and Siakam and the big boys a lot of minutes. So let's see what happens. Let's talk some baseball now. And even though Canada was eliminated from the World Baseball Classic, a lot of good vibes are surrounding this squad. They managed to win 2 games against Great Britain and Colombia and gave it a good effort against Mexico, despite not having Freddie Freeman, or for that matter, Cal Quantrill, who started game 1 and didn't get out of the first inning. And then, I don't know how many pitches he threw, but he was not available for the Mexico game. He would have only been on they play every day, so it was only a couple of days rest. Anyway, so, two pretty good, 2 all-stars, pretty good ball players, not available for you. Good effort against Mexico. Finished 2-2, pretty good. The sweetest moment, though, had to be in the loss to the United States. Your manager, Ernie Witt, that you're not going to win this game against the U.S., but you also know you've got to save your pitching staff. You've got to save your best players for Colombia, which is the next day, and then for Mexico. So what does he do? He goes to 19-year-old Mitch Bratt from Newmarket, Ontario, who's a single A pitcher in the Texas Rangers organization. Single A and double A, I think. Single going to double. But anyway, and he says, okay, Mitch, you're going to face the best hitters in the game. You're going to face 4 or 5 future Hall of Famers. We're not expecting much, okay? The best pitchers in baseball can't get these guys out. Just give it your best shot. And the kid goes out there, and he's 19 years old, man, and he's representing his country, and he couldn't get out of the first inning, and you felt sorry for him. He's walking guys, and he gave up a blue pit and a bleeder and, that type of thing. And manager Ernie Witt comes out to talk to him, and, you're going, oh, what's he saying to him? And he's smiling, and he's laughing, and he's patting him on the shoulder, and the other guys are smiling, and let's have fun with it. And I'm like, how can this kid have fun? Like, it's great to say it when you're sitting at home. Come on, we're here to have some fun. Come on, let's just have some fun. Do you honestly think this kid is going, yeah, let's just have some fun? Come on, he's nervous as hell. He gets told the day before or whatever, or whenever Ernie Witt told him, by the way, kid, we're sending you to the Wolves. Take a look at the lineup you're going to be facing. What? Oh, yes, it's going to be on international television. And there's going to be 35,000 people there too. And you're representing your country, 19 years old, for crying out loud. Man, I still had stained underwear when I was 19 years old. My mom did my lawn, 19. Anyway, so
it's a good
great.
spot, Hebsy. You're playing with house money, right? Because no one's got any expectations. It's actually kind of a good spot to be in.
Anyway, Mitch Bratt is now my favorite player. This he's 19. I'm going to follow his career. I mean, what he did out there, the fact that he went out there and faced these guys and got it out actually is remarkable. But he's going to have a story to tell his kids and his grandkids forever. It was really something to watch. It was great. And because of that, I've sort of fallen back in love, or I've fallen in love with the World Baseball Classic, because it allows guys like that. It allows guys like this Czechoslovakian, Chechen, is it now? This Czech electrician.
Czechia.
This Czech electrician who's pitching for the Czechs against Japan and strike it out Otani. It's like, where else does this happen, Mike?
No.
Where else does this happen? Like out of nowhere. This other kid who pitched for Nicaragua, who struck out 3 of the best Dominican hitters, 19 years old. And as he's walking down the tunnel, or as he's leaving the ballpark with the team, a Detroit Tigers scout comes up to him and says, "Do you want to sign a contract?" 19 years old. He's just struck out 3 terrific hitters. I love these stories. So this is why I've changed my mind about the World Baseball Classic. Oh, yeah, it takes place during spring training. And oh, yeah, it was terrible that Edwin Diaz, the New York Mets closer, injured himself while celebrating during Puerto Rico's victory over the Dominican the other day. And it's a season-ending injury, and the season hasn't even started. Severe knee injury. Yeah, it's too bad. Freddie Freeman pulls a hamstring. Oh, people are going, why do we have this World Baseball Classic? Come on. He could have easily done it during spring training. But lots of players have injured themselves during spring training. So don't tell me that, it's because they shouldn't be sending them to the World Baseball Classic because they're going to get hurt. They're going to get hurt no matter what, okay? It has nothing to do with the fact that they're playing in the World Baseball Classic. It's ridiculous. And it's damn exciting.
I should pull a clip, though. I think about a week ago, you were pretty negative on this World Baseball Classic. You were poo-pooing this entire
I was, because I was worried that, it was going to take away from the matter at hand, which is the Blue Jays attempting to win the World Series. And let me tell you, if the Dominican Republic knocks off Puerto Rico, Vladdy Jr. is like, I'm playing for Dominican. And you're going to stop him? You're going to say, no, you can't play for your country?
No.
Or you're going to say, oh, you got to play for Canada because you were born in Canada?
No.
So this is where it gets. And the other one was somebody, who the heck was it the other? Somebody the other day. Oh, it was Keith Olbermann. Tweeted the other day something to the effect of, we don't care where your grandmother got laid so you can play baseball representing this country. And it was sort of like, well, everybody on Team Israel is from the United States. Everybody on the Czech team is American. Everybody on the Italian team is American. Everybody, you know what I mean? And so it's sort of come down to that, what are the rules for qualification for you to be able to compete representing this country?
Right.
And if you looked at it that way, okay. I mean, is it the same for everybody? I mean, if you've got the heritage, if your grandmother was from England, can you play for Great Britain? And the answer is sure. And the answer is sure. Go ahead.
So a couple things quick. One is that whenever you see the men's hockey team for Italy, they're all born in Woodbridge, or they're all born in Toronto, all of them, right? They're all just grandparents from Italy or whatever. And I am relying on the fact that my son Jarvis can suit up one day for the Philippines hockey team. Okay, so this is my hope, that through his grandparents on his mom's side, he can get citizenship and he can be the captain of Team Philippines.
Right, but shouldn't he have to go to the Philippines and be part of the training for the Philippines and part of Philippines minor hockey? Or does the Philippine Hockey Association say, just bring over a bunch of Canadians?
Wasn't Rick Fox a great Canadian Olympian? Cable? Say no more. He left when he was 2 years old. So.
Well, look at Russell Martin. I mean, you can take anyone that was born. Look, Freddie Freeman wasn't even born here, but his mother is from here and passed away when he was 10 years old. He qualifies. So you either say, nope, you can't do that anymore. You've got to, or what do you make it? If I think the rule now is if one of your grandparents was born in this country, then you can represent that country. That's sort of the minimum one.
Well, every country has their own rules for citizenship. And if you have the citizenship for a country, you can play for them.
That's right. But even if you don't have the citizenship, you can gain it easily through these events. Because if a grandparent was born there. And I'm sure they stretch them. Well, your great grandparent was born there. Your great grandmother was from Portugal. That's okay. That's all right. That's fine.
And
Your father has Portuguese citizenship. Okay,
close enough.
right?
And on
Yeah,
this St. Patrick's Day, I'm pleased to announce I will be representing Ireland, the men's hockey team, through my grandparents' lineage. Thank you.
You know what? If you can apply for it and it's possible, why not? If they allow for it, why not? If it bothers you that everybody who plays for Team Italy, none of them were born in Italy.
None of them.
But they had grandparents that were Italian.
Right.
If that bothers you, well, it bothered me for a while. It doesn't bother me now because the baseball or whatever the sport is so great. Okay. So you say to someone, you're now representing, whatever the country is. And that person has never been to that country before, right? Doesn't speak the language from that country, but one of their grandparents was from that country. So now it's like, okay, I'm in. Suit me up. Get me a uniform. I'll learn to speak the language or whatever. I'll learn the history of the country.
You don't even need to learn the language.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Anyway, so that Puerto Rico Dominican Republic game was spectacular. Like anyone who says, the World Baseball Classic, man, these countries, they want to play against each other. They want to be known as the best. And
exciting.
They love their baseball. Very, very exciting.
So I'm glad you turned around on this.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Puerto Rico now, Edwin Diaz is out. He's the one for the Mets who, when he comes out of the bullpen, they play that song with the trumpets, right? Everybody goes wild.
Right.
That bullpen song. So Puerto Rico gets Mexico in one quarterfinal. That's tonight. The U.S. plays Venezuela in another quarterfinal. That's tomorrow. And already in the semis are Cuba and Japan from the other two groups, which played the group stage in Japan. So Cuba and Japan have emerged there. So there's two semifinalists, and I'm thinking the U.S. should beat Venezuela. And man, I don't know, the Mexico-Puerto Rico game, toss up there. Be very exciting. Meanwhile, Vladdy Guerrero Jr. Is back playing with the Jays in spring training. But he told the team the other day, he said, I'd like to play for the Dominican team. They had not been eliminated at that point, and then it became a moot point when they were eliminated by Puerto Rico. But still, would you if you're the Jays? Because they kind of hemmed it. They didn't say, sure, Vladdy, you go. If you're the Jays, middle of spring training now, he's just come back after tweaking his knee. Would you say, go ahead, Vladdy?
I think they'd wish him luck.
Would you hold him back?
No, they're not going to. No. They're going to wish him luck.
They have to, pretty much. You can't deny a guy a chance to play for his country. Because once he tweaked the knee, he called and said, look, I can't play. I have to bow out. But now the knee is better. And he played yesterday in the spring training game. So why couldn't he have played for the Dominican? In fact, if I'm not mistaken, he went on a plane. He flew down. He didn't flew down to Miami. It's not that far of a flight, but from Tampa to Miami is like 40 minutes. He jumped the plane. They had a picture of him on the plane flying down to Miami to support the Dominican in their game against Puerto Rico. How about that? I'll be back later, guys. I'll take a flight back. I'll be back.
Why not, right?
11. I'll be back at the Tampa airport for 11. I'll be in bed by midnight. You can do that if you're Vladdy.
Sure.
Anyway, I don't know if it would have made a difference. I'm sure the Dominican team would have loved to have him, but it's a moot point now. So, yeah, the Jays lose Freddie Freeman for an extended period because of a hamstring injury. The Dodgers, rather, lose Freddie Freeman for an extended period. Do you think the Dodgers are like, oh, geez, man, why did he play in the World Baseball Classic? Would it have made a difference if he got hurt the same way at the Dodgers spring training camp? No. So people who are going, oh, and I was like this before. Oh, no. What if he gets injured? It doesn't matter. He would, if he's going to get injured, he's going to get injured. Spring training, regular season game.
Yeah, the space-time continuum doesn't work that way. Like it's not a like if this then that.
Like if Kendrys Morales can ruin his knee jumping on home plate after hitting a game-winning home run and injuring his knee during a regular season baseball game,
right?
Then why not Diaz? Celebrating a Puerto Rican victory over the Dominican, which is much bigger than a regular season baseball game.
We've had players injure themselves having nightmares about spiders. Okay,
that's Glenn Allen Hill. That's a good one. Remember, Mike, when sports gambling was legalized in Ontario and every Tom, Dick, and cool better took advantage by flooding the marketplace with ads? Well, the field is slowly being cut down to size as betting sites are falling by the wayside here in Ontario. CoolBet, an online casino and sports betting site, is closing operations in a few weeks. This comes on the heels of the announcement, not a surprising announcement, that Sportsnet bets that Sportsnet owned by Rogers and their little betting thing where they thought, ooh, this is great. We'll get in all the odds. We'll interrupt every fucking hockey game and every fucking baseball game and every sport that we've got while inserting these guys and gals in there to people I don't even know to tell us what they think about the plus 105 over under, let's make a bet while the sixth inning is still going on, in play, in game bullshit. Okay. And they stuck them on TV, and here people like, Jamie Campbell and David Amber and Ron McLean are like, now let's go to the Sportsnet bet, the big boards for Sportsnet bets. And here's I've never heard of, along with Cabby, and I've never heard of, and weird looking guy there, and sinister looking guy there, and some jerk from Fort fucking Lauderdale that I don't know what they're paying this guy, but whatever it is, it's too much. And now I'm supposed to watch this garbage. And now back to Ron McLean and Hockey Night in Canada. No. Done. Finitos. Not enough people cared what the so-called betting experts had to say. And they stayed away in droves. So that's kaput. And, Mike, this, the market, the iGaming market in Ontario is extremely competitive. All these sites giving away free money. Come on, bet with our money. Here's $200. Go ahead, bet it. It's yours. Just play with us. There's going to be a lot more sites shuttering their operations according to those in the know. But at the same time, certain betting sites are coming out with new commercials, new ones, right? Like, our buddy Dan O'Toole is now doing spots with not just Jerome Bettis, but Joachim Noah sitting at a sports desk trying to make a basket over Joachim Noah, who swats it away. It's a whole new ball game, online casino. What's going to happen with these guys? And of course, the big ones, the BetMGM and, Connor and Gretzky. And
I like that one.
Jamie Foxx, and then what's his name? Aaron Paul is on a different one. And
yeah.
George St. Pierre. I don't understand all the time that he's speaking English, but he's doing those spots. There's fucking millions of them. Can anyone list all the betting, the betting sites that are running ads on TV? There's so many of them.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do? They're going to cut them down from like 50 to like 30? 10? Is it going to be like the pot shops in my neighborhood? There were 12 of them. Now there's 8 of them. 4 of those are closing. We get down to how many sites are there going to be?
Right. Survival of the fittest. But I will just shout out that McDavid Gretzky ad is the only one that entertains me a little bit.
Which one though? When they're racing Zambonis, or the one where he's taking shots?
Gretzky and McDavid, they're kind of chipping each other, like they're kind of snarky, and they're
chirping. The word's chirping.
What did I say? Well, remember chirping. I called Stubby. I called him Stumpy. So that's my thing.
By the way, my apologies to Connor McDavid and everyone. Last week, there was a tweet came up. A tweet came up just before I went to air, and it's a TSN tweet, and it's also an Edmonton Oilers tweet, and they both kind of came up in the feed, and it was Connor McDavid out 2 to 3 weeks. Blah, blah, blah. This was the night after he had taken a hip check, or he had actually run into his own teammate. And I said, he's out 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah. And then after we went off the air, I'm saying he's out for the fucking morning skate for what the fuck? And then I realized those tweets are from 3 years ago.
Oh my God.
And you know what happens is sometimes they'll show up in your feed. It was like, remember this, the anniversary of, or something like that. It was
Hebsy, I want you to know, I told multiple people.
Oh, I feel bad about it, but I think what happened was someone had sent these tweets to me saying, hey, Hebsy, did you hear about this? And remember, it's like 7:00 in the morning.
I know.
Last Friday morning. Did you hear about this? And I had seen the game the night before, and I didn't check to corroborate because this is a follower sent these to me. And I'm like, holy shit, he's out there. So I announced it, of course, and then I realized it. Yeah. And I go back and I go, those are from fucking 3 years ago.
You know how many people sold their tickets because they weren't going to see
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They checked with someone else and say Hebsy was wrong. And I was. And I apologize for that.
All right.
So
don't let it happen again.
No, I won't. Tonight, the Maple Leafs host the Carolina Hurricanes at the Scotiabank Arena, and then they travel to Ottawa to take on the Senators on Saturday. So the Leafs right now are 1 point up on Tampa. They've got 2 games in hand on the Bolts, 15 games left in the regular schedule, and the season ends April 13th for the Maple Leafs. And I looked at the schedule, and their last 5 games are these: at Boston, at home to Montreal, at Florida, at Tampa, at the Rangers. Final 5 games could be very interesting. Could be, Leafs could be fighting for that home ice advantage in the first round against Tampa, and other things too. But this other, these other squads are fighting too, like Florida. Did you hear what happened last night in Florida with the Montreal and the Florida Panthers?
I did. I want to hear about it though.
They gave up. Patrick Waugh wasn't even in goal. Red Light Rasico wasn't even in goal. They gave up 7 goals in the first period. Wow. 7. En route to a 9-5 thrashing by Las Panteras. 7 goals in one period. What's his name? The starting goalie. I forget his name. Montbrode or whatever his name is. He gave up 3 goals. I think it was 3-2 when they pulled him. And then they brought in Jake Allen, who gave up like 6 goals. And then they put whatever the guy's name is, Montebro or whatever his name is, back in net. Fucking Habs lose 9-5. They're horrible. The Abs are horrible.
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 The H
Horrible. Horrible.
Gotta love it.
Kudos to the Hockey Samurai on Twitter. The Hockey Samurai, who I follow, posed this question yesterday. Which hockey trade broke you as a fan when you lost your sports innocence and realized it's all a business? The trade that made you cry. So I see this and I go, oh man, made me cry. Frank Mahovlich, devastated. March 3rd, 1967. The Leafs had lost 13 of 16 games. They had won the Stanley Cup the year before. Had won the Stanley Cup, but now this is expansion. It's not a 16 league, it's a 12-team league, and the Leafs are in the East. Okay? And they're in the East against really good teams. They're not in the West against St. Louis and Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and the Oakland Seals and Kings and Minnesota North Stars and the expansion teams. No, they're playing in the East. They're playing against the Rangers and the Bruins, right? And the Canadiens and the Blackhawks and the Red Wings. Jeez. So they lost 13 to 16. And Punch Imlach, general manager coach, who had won 4 Stanley Cups, decided, let's shake the team up. Let's trade Frank Mahovlich, Paul Henderson, a young player, Gary Unger, another young player, and the rights to defenseman Carl Brewer. And let's get in exchange Norm Ullman from Detroit. Sorry, my mistake. Leafs traded. It was Gary. It was Gary Unger, Pete Stamkowski. My mistake, not Paul Henderson, who came the other way. So it's Stamkowski, Unger, and Carl Brewer, along with Mahovlich, to Detroit for Floyd Smith, Norm Ullman, and Paul Henderson. And I cried because Frank Mahovlich was my favorite player. But I also liked Stamkowski, and I liked this young kid, Gary Unger. And I cried, and I haven't stopped crying. All right? This is Punch Imlach decided to shake the team up. So at the time, they were a few games under 500. This was the 3rd of March. And they ended up 2 games over 500, but they missed the playoffs. But he ripped the guts out of the team by trading Mahovlich, who he just didn't like. He intentionally called him Frank Mahovlich when they were doing interviews, right? Mahovlich had to leave the team a couple of times in previous seasons because of what was called a nervous breakdown, right? A nervous breakdown. Punch Imlach upset this guy so much, was on his case so much, called him Mahovlich, disrespected him so much that he finally traded him. And a couple of years earlier, I think the Chicago Blackhawks had offered like $1 million for Frank Mahovlich. This guy was an all-star every year. This guy was a 40-goal scorer. And I was devastated. And I looked, I kind of looked it up afterwards. I said, when this trade happened, how did it end up? So the Leafs trade Frank Mahovlich, right? Who after he left the Leafs had 237 NHL goals. They traded Gary Unger, who after he left the Leafs had 413 NHL goals. And they traded Pete Stamkowski, who after he left the Leafs had 187 NHL goals. We won't include the 2 or 3 goals from Carl Brewer. That's 836 NHL goals that the Leafs traded away in the Mahovlich deal, right? That's right. 836 goals that could have been scored for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And in exchange, they got Norm Ullman, 166 goals, Paul Henderson, 162 goals, and Floyd Smith, 25 goals for 353. So 836 to 353. Huh? So almost 500 goals difference over the terms of these players after that trade was made. So I rest my case. It was a horrible trade. I cried, and I hated Punch Imlach from that point on for what he did to that team. What about you, Mike? Was there a trade that your favorite hockey team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, made that you just, no?
No tears, because I saw the value in what was coming back, but I'm going to agree. I'm on your YouTube channel right now where we're live, everybody. You podcast listeners, every Friday at 9 o'clock, you can go to Hebsy's YouTube and engage in real time. But Wayne Brown, he talks about the Wendell Clark for Matt Sundin trade. And I do remember that being like a punch in the gut, but I had the wherewithal to realize that I remember Matt Sundin being like a powerhouse on the Nordiques and like a young guy. And I remember thinking there's big upside. So I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. I understand. But I do want to shout out, Jim Allen has a vague memory of when Tim Horton left the Leafs, and Paul Ante says the Lanny McDonald trade to Colorado is what Huck. And to leave the Leafs for a moment, Chris F. Grave remembers when Ryan Smith left Edmonton and that one hit him. Can I talk about a baseball trade that got me?
Yeah.
The Jesse Barfield trade.
Listen, the Hockey Samurai came up with this for hockey trades.
Hockey trades.
You can, Mike, post it as Toronto Mike and saying, what sports trade? What trade of your favorite player or whatever?
I don't want to be, I feel like that's Eric Alpert territory. I don't know.
Oh, no. Eric Alpert stuff is name a song that has the word love in it. Come on, Mike.
And he also prearranges that many years in advance.
And he does it every day.
And he never replies back, which is annoying.
Never replies back. But other than that,
shout out to Grossman's Tavern. Okay, so Paul Ante. Oh no, I'm not shouting out Paul. I'm talking about my own. Okay, so why am I reading that again? So Jesse Barfield. I love the guy. Hit 40 home runs. I love that outfield. You know what I think of George Bell, and I love Lloyd Mosby, and I love that outfield. And because it was the Al Leiter took so long. It took so long for Al Leiter to develop, and then the blister problem and everything, and then it ended up being a great trade for the Jays. But Jesse Barfield trade, and I think that was like after the '87 season. I can't remember. Do you remember? Anyways,
let me think about this. 87 season Barfield trade. I think there was one more.
Okay, maybe 88.
He was there in 88. Jesse was there for sure in 88, but I think he was gone in 89.
Yeah, he was not there for the ALCS
season.
in 89. So anyway, that trade got me because I was a big Jesse Barfield fanatic.
Right. That's good. You know what? Yeah, we should do that. Come up with that because there's lots of sometimes you'll see a player and you'll go, oh. All you have to do is mention the player he was traded for, and there's your frame of reference right there.
See, I'm seeing now. You go ahead.
Like for years, when I would see Lou Brock for St. Louis growing up, Lou Brock, the left fielder, and it was always like, oh, that trade for the Cubs for Ernie Brolio or whatever it was, like that guy. And that's you look at the guy and say, we got him for that guy. Right. See that guy there? We traded him for so and so, and look how the other guy's doing.
Right.
It's always that.
Right. So I do see Craig Miller talks about McGriff Fernandez, but that trade, like. We all knew what Alomar was going to be, and we got.
But at the time, see, that's the thing is, when you're a kid, especially at the time, that trade devastated you. It devastated you. I loved McGriff. I loved Tony Fernandez. Sure. So at first you're like, and you're looking at the stats of Roberto Alomar and Joe Carter going, all right. So at that time, you're just devastated. As time, you look at the trade a year later, you go, oh, it wasn't so bad. But with me, with the Mahovlich trade, I'm looking at that trade 50 years later, Mike, and it's worse.
Right.
It's worse. He tore the guts out of a team.
Right. I hear you.
Tore the guts out of them. Stemkowski, Unger, Mahovlich. Oh, punch him like, oh, we don't think Gary Unger is going to be much. Let's trade him. And Floyd Smith. What are you fucking nuts? Yeah, he played like a handful of games. You giving up young talent like that? You mad? Stemkowski was maybe 24 years old at the time. Young, come on, are you crazy? Mahovlich still in his prime. Okay. I saw a clip from TNT's NHL coverage on Twitter the other day, and it was outstanding. It's Sarah Nurse and Henrik Lundqvist, along with the other guys from the TNT panel. They're standing on that studio rink. I love this, Mike. They set up a rink, you know what I mean, right? The glassy looking floor. Yes, and they're out and they're wearing their civvies and they got the sticks. And here's Hank with beautifully dressed with the suit and everything. But he's got the goalie stick and he's guarding the net. And here's Sarah Nurse explaining what she's thinking on a breakaway, what she's doing if she's coming in from the right side, what she's doing, how she's watching the goaltender. And Lundqvist is going, if I'm the goalie, I got to set my feet. And I can't set my feet if you're sweeping across. Anyway, it was terrific insider stuff. And I'm thinking, why can't they do this on Hockey Night in Canada or Sportsnet's Monday Night Hockey or Wednesday Night Hockey or Thursday or whatever? Why can't they do this? Joe Siddall does it for baseball, and it's fantastic. Insiders look, here's the plate, here's the batter's box, here's me crouching, here's a glove, here's what it looks like. This is what you want. So the fact that they can do it so easily, and it's Sarah Nurse. She's in our backyard. You're telling me that the producers at Sportsnet, at Rogers and TSN aren't saying, hey, Sarah, over here, come on. She's going, no. What do I want to go over there for? You've got Jennifer Botterill and you've got Cassie Campbell and you've got, Anthony Stewart and They're okay, but you do the same stuff. You throw to me, I talk for 30 seconds. They throw some video over top of it. I throw it back over to you, who throws it to Leo or George or Bill or Ron or David or Elliot or Kelly or what's his name? Keith Yandel or Anson Carter, or let's flip a coin and see who's on the panel. And it's all the same stuff. Do me a favor. Watch the TNT stuff and tell me that stuff. You couldn't do that stuff on TSN or on Rogers Sportsnet. Of course.
So why can't Sportsnet be?
I don't know. I don't know this formulaic, this panel, this let's go to
I know, I skip it.
Now
I never
you talk
watch
for
it.
30 seconds and then the host goes, Elliot. And then Elliot goes, makes his point, and then Kelly, and Kelly makes his point, and then Kevin. And then Kevin makes a crack about Elliot's clothing or hair or whatever. And it's just so blah, blah. And Jennifer Botterill. Now, if Jennifer Botterill was on that rink holding the stick and saying, when we played the United States, we crashed the net and here's what we would do. And Kelly, you grab a goalie stick and you stand there and let's do this. Could they not do that? How tough can that be? You're telling me that they're not capable of doing that? That they have to be sitting at a desk? Come on. It's terrible.
Hebsy, I cannot remember the last time I watch the game, and when the buzzer goes, I go off and do other things, and then I come back when the buzzer when the puck drops again.
Yeah, there's too many intermissions. I told you this about hockey. The problem with hockey is when they started televising hockey, they said that here's our biggest problem. How are we going to do 2 intermissions? Everything else is halftime. What the heck are we going to do? Stand by for our second intermission where we interview another sweaty hockey player, and we go over the out of town scores once again. And we bring in the panel to talk about the stuff that you've been talking about all week on talk radio. Blah, boring.
Hebsy, when you talked about the Mahovlich trade, you mentioned was it Conn Smythe? Who traded Mahovlich? Conn Smythe, right?
No, Punch Imlach.
Punch Imlach, right? Okay.
Correct.
I'm going a little further back. Okay. So Punch Imlach, one of the most disrespectful things you can do to somebody is intentionally butcher the pronunciation of their last name, right? That's like it's so insulting. Just remember, we had an intermission guy with a lot of viewers who basically like dined on that. Patrick Roy, I'll go on and on. But we had our main first intermission of Hockey Night in Canada was a guy who basically did that for a living, butchering the last names that weren't, English-centric.
Interesting that you put that way. I think, I can't speak to someone's motivation. I don't know what their motivation is. I mean, for all I know, Punch Imlach had problems saying the word Mahovlich, right? The same way Foster Hewitt couldn't say Tretiak or Tretriak. There are just, as you know, Mike, there are certain words that you can't say it.
Oh, I do know that, but we know.
But in Imlach's case,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that he knew that it was pronounced Mahovlich. And I don't know if every time he said his name, he said Mahovlich. Just that I remember distinctly him saying it on television, being interviewed by Ward Cornell or whatever, and saying to my dad, "That's not how you say his name," or something like, "Dad, we've been calling him Mahovlich. Is it Mahovlich?" And then you think about all the times that you heard an announcer mispronounce someone's name, Did they correct that? So my impression is that Imlach did it knowing, right? That sometimes he screwed it up, sometimes he didn't. But when he did, he knew that Mahovlich was, why is he doing that to me? Why is he disrespecting me? Why is he calling? And remember, Imlach is like, Frank had a nervous breakdown. He's too nervous. He hasn't been playing well. You can't yell at him. Well, Imlach, the story I heard was that he berated Mahovlich worse than any of the other players. Called him out in front of his teammates, embarrassed him, humiliated him. You call yourself a 40-goal scorer, blah, 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 stuff like that. And if you ever saw Mahovlich play, he could fly down the wing, but he didn't look, because he's big, he didn't look like he was trying. He didn't look like it. He just didn't have that, shorter guys have those choppy little strides.
Oh, yeah. No, it's like Mario Lemieux.
Yeah, those long, yeah, right,
like
exactly. And so Mahovlich, and so Imlach took advantage of that, and he berated him, and he humiliated him. And then he traded him. And the Lanny McDonald trade a decade later was almost as bad. I mean, Imlach didn't like the fact that McDonald and that Sittler had a no trade clause in his contract, and that Sittler and McDonald were like running the show there like it was a country club. And he said, "I'll show you who's boss. I'll trade Sittler's best friend." Ripped the guts out of that team. A year after Lanny McDonald had scored 4. Take a look at how Lanny McDonald was a scorer before he got traded at the age of 26. He was in his prime. He was a 40-goal scorer.
Right.
40-goal scorer, much coveted. Ah, terrible.
Wow.
We got Wilf Paymont and Pat Hickey out of that deal. Anyway, let's go to tennis now. Felix Auger-Aliassime lost in the quarterfinals at Indian Wells, this time to the number 1 seed Carlos Alcaraz of Spain. What a player this guy is. The scores were 6-4, 6-4. Mike, all along, I've been telling you the difference between men's and women's tennis is in men's tennis, you're looking to break serve. In women's tennis, you're looking to hold serve. But all you need is a service break in the men's game, and that's pretty much it. And that's what Alcaraz did to Felix. The 5th game of the opening set took 11 minutes to play, tied 2-2. Felix serving, right, on serve, and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It took 11 minutes just to play the 5th game. Felix double faulted at deuce, and then Alcaraz hit a beautiful winner to break him and ended up going on to win 6-4. And then the same second set, same thing, he broke him, and that's all you need. Now, I should point out here that Felix was coming off one of the greatest matches that nobody had ever seen. He took on Tommy Paul the other night in the previous round. It was late. And I don't know if it was on all the main channels or anyone had said, and don't forget, tune in for Felix Auger-Aliassime's 4th round match against Tommy Paul, the U.S. But dig this. He's serving at 5-6, love 40 in the first set. Okay, 5-6, love 40. Sorry, in the second set. And he comes back. Three points he fights off, 3 match points he fights off. Okay. Then he gets to a tiebreaker and he's down 6-3 in the tiebreaker. So that's 3 more match points that all Paul has to do is win one of those points and he wins the match. Nope. Felix comes back down 6-3, wins the tiebreaker, wins the next set, knocks off Tommy Paul. So he was exhausted. So we'll give him that. And he's playing the number 1 seed, but still pretty good. He needs a break somewhere. He's going to break through this year. I think, Mike, all of the experts have said, it's only a matter of time before Felix breaks through. Maybe this is the year. He's competitive. He's having trouble getting through the quarters against, opponents like Medvedev and now, Alcaraz. And there are others who are better than him. But maybe by season's end or midway through the season, maybe he reaches the same level as these guys, because you got to get by Djokovic. You got to get by Medvedev. You got to get by Alcaraz. These are the top players. Felix is just below them. But on any given day, he can beat them. The women's side has Sakari against Sabalenka in one semifinal today, and Iga Swiatek, the number 1 seed, takes on Rybakina in the other semi. Swiatek's toughest match so far at Indian Wells was against Bianca Andreescu in the 3rd round when she had to go to a tiebreaker to win the second set. In every other match, she has blown the opponents out of the water. I mean, nobody's even come close. But in that match against Bianca, Bianca took her to a tiebreak. So that's good news for Bianca. I should also point out that on the men's, we've got Alcaraz against Jakob Sinner in the semifinals, and the other semi is Medvedev and Francis Tiafoe of the United States. That's the tennis story there. In golf, we've got the Valspar Championship at Innisbrook. That's near Tampa. Last year, Mike, I was at spring training in Florida at this time. I had tickets to see 5 BlueJays games, which were all wiped out because of COVID. And also we had a chance to go and see the first round of the Valspar Championships, which was right nearby, and we took a pass. And the reason we took a pass is it's one of the weaker stops on the tour. It's like you just had the Players' Championship last week. Fabulous. A couple of weeks you got the Masters. And so this is one of those ones that it's not that big of a deal, the Valspar Championship. It's not the greatest golf course in the world, so we took a pass. And some people were like, are you kidding? You had a chance to watch PGA professionals. Well, yeah, I know. But if I go, I want to go to a big event. I want to do a big one. And
go big or go home.
Yeah, the course is supposed to be, it's not the greatest course in the world, but I couldn't break 100 on that course. The way they have it set up for the pros, I couldn't. But that's them. Anyway, the top Canadian after the opening round is Adam Hadwin at -2. I don't even know who the leader is, because by the time you hear this, even if you're listening to it live right now, it's changed up because guys go out at, what time's the sun up now in the morning? 7:30?
Maybe.
7:30? I don't know. I don't know what time. Whatever time the sun is up, that's when the first tee times go in the early days.
All right.
All right. Anything else, Mike? Did we forget anything? Did I neglect to mention? We got our St. Patrick's Day story in. We got the origin of the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. That's a good one, right?
Yeah, go St. Pat's tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you also know, okay, and this according to Fox Sports, I watched the World Baseball Classic, that Canada is the fourth largest country as far as size goes in the world. Did you know that? Fourth largest?
Nice.
Yeah, we used to be the second largest, but apparently we've lost some square footage somewhere, square mileage.
Oh, that's bullshit. We're number 2, and we
No, we're no. According to Fox, we're number 4. It's Russia number 1, China 2, the United States 3, Canada 4. So we've lost something. So it's sort of like that guy who grew up and he was 6'4", but then when he gets older and he's hunched over, he's only 6'2". Is that what it is? Because
maybe they annexed Alberta. Maybe America annexed Alberta.
That's what Fox Sports said. We're number 4. Big old Canada. Good for us. All right. That's it for episode 325 of Hebsy on Sports. Thanks to Toronto Mike, as always, for production and inspiration. Hit him up at Toronto Mike and listen to his excellent podcast. He's got some really good guests.
I had crash test dummies on last
night. Crash test. You got your Winnipeg thing happening. They want you in Winnipeg. They want you as Winnipeg Mike.
Working on it.
You are not. You're not going there. You're not leaving. Thanks to all of you for allowing us into your homes, into your headspace. We're back with another exciting episode next week. Until then, so long for now.